Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. It's off to Washington, D.C. again for the Philippine delegation headed by the Marcos administration's economic czar, Frederick Go. They will try to strike a better trade deal after President Donald Trump slapped higher tariffs on U.S. market-bound Filipino goods.
And the search for the bodies of missing sabongeros in Taal Lake officially begins tomorrow, July 11th. While finding physical proof of crime could be a long shot, authorities are confident other evidence will make for a solid case.
And here's the story of two battles from Malacanang to Makati, one brewing and the other boiling over. The spokespersons of President Bongbong Marcos and Vice President Sara Duterte are trading indirect barbs, while it's Binay versus Binay over an expensive and forever unfinished subway deal.
The formula was a formula based on common sense. We've been treated very unfairly by both friend and foe.
We are concerned. There will be meetings next week amongst the trade representatives ng Amerika po at ng Pilipinas.
A surprising turn in the U.S.-Philippines trade talks. American President Donald Trump has raised tariffs on 8 countries, including the Philippines. This despite continued negotiations between the two countries. So, what happened? And now the more important question is, what's next? Here's the report.
The United States has imposed a 20% tariff on the Philippines, a move that comes even as trade talks remain underway. To put that in perspective, the 20% levy is 3 points higher than the 17% rate imposed on Liberation Day last April 2. And the Philippines is not alone. Japan, Malaysia, Brunei, and Brazil are among the countries also hit with increased import taxes. In a 2-page letter addressed to President Bongbong Marcos, which is identical to letters sent to other countries, Trump justified the duties, citing long-standing trade deficits. In 2024 alone, the U.S. trade deficit with the Philippines rose to nearly $5 billion, a 22% increase from the previous year. Unless a new deal is struck within 3 weeks, the 20% tariff takes effect on August 1st, and that's on top of other sectoral tariffs the U.S. will impose. Here at home, the Department of Trade and Industry confirms it has received the notice on the tariff hike. In a statement, Trade Secretary Cristina Roque expressed concern over the decision despite continuous engagements. Roque emphasized the 20% rate is the second lowest among other countries, but warned that unilateral trade actions could destabilize global supply chains. A Philippine delegation is scheduled to hold discussions in the U.S. next week, just days before the new rate takes effect. Since May, government officials have been negotiating with U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. Leading the pack are Special Assistant to the President for Investment and Economic Affairs Frederick Go and Trade Secretary Cristina Roque, who initially sought to negotiate the rate down to zero.
We are concerned that the U.S. has decided to impose a 20% tariff on Philippine exports. The fact remains, however, that the 20% rate is the second lowest among all reciprocal tariffs that the U.S. has imposed on the region, the lowest being the 10% of Singapore. Myself, together with DTI Secretary Chris Roque and Undersecretary Perry Rodolfo and Undersecretary Alan Hepty, will be flying to the United States next week. This is actually a scheduled trip to the United States even before today's announcement. No? So there will be meetings next week amongst the trade representatives ng Amerika po at ng Pilipinas.
On Monday, Trump announced similar letters were sent to 14 nations in total, among them Japan and Malaysia, which received even higher tariffs compared to that issued in April. Trump once again defended his decision to charge steeper tariffs.
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years, and based on raw numbers. And we really haven't had too many complaints, because I'm keeping them at a very low number, very conservative, as you would say, number. And we haven't had, I'm sure they will be complaining at certain points, but we haven't had complaints. We've been treated very unfairly by both friend and foe.
In Batangas, the actual technical dive in Taal Lake for several missing sabongeros will begin tomorrow. Authorities are not discounting the possibility of the search yielding nothing, but they say this does not mean that the case won't progress. Mobile journalist Arles de los Santos with the story.
Philippine Coast Guard personnel scoured through this part of Taal Lake in Laurel and Talisay in Batangas in search of human remains. Along with government officials, divers headed to a fish pen which, according to initial investigation, is possible ground zero, the location where the missing sabongeros were buried. DOJ Assistant Secretary Mico Clavano says this is part of a technical site assessment. The purpose: observe and take note of the depth and conditions of the water first before the first technical dive happens.
Important po ito dahil we will see for the first time kung ano ba talaga ang kondisyon. If you will look behind me, medyo maalon nga siya. There's a bit of disturbance. We can expect na yung tubig ay medyo hindi masyadong clear, no? Medyo murky. Pero dahil po sa mga equipment na pinapahiram po sa atin ng PCG at mga equipment na ipapahiram ng hopefully ng Japanese government at iba pang mga ahensya at departamento ng gobyerno, we are quite confident that we can get a good picture of what it looks like down there. If not just the depth, pati yung map ng ground makita na po natin.
At this point, authorities are resigned to the fact that it will be a challenging operation. Add to that the gloomy weather, a possible eruption of the Taal volcano, and information that sandbags were allegedly tied to the corpses of disappeared sabongeros before they were thrown into the lake.
Because of the information received by us na may nakatali pong sandbags, no, para may nakataling sandbags para talagang lumubog yung katawan, then it poses a different challenge kasi yung mga katawan na wala namang nakataling lumulutang daw after a while. Pero dahil nga may sandbags daw na then we focus more on the lake bed.
The site assessment is also to validate leads from Julie Donton Patidongan alias Totoy, who identified the lake as burial site. Totoy earlier admitted that he did not witness the killings nor the dumping of the bodies firsthand. Still, the DOJ is hoping to recover what remains of sabongeros 4 years into their disappearance.
May mga nagsasabi po na meron pa po tayong maabutan. They indicated certain factors, no, dahil what we're dealing with now is more fresh water. Yung mga dating searches were done in salt water. So there are experts advising us on what we should be looking for.
But what if there are no corpses? The Justice Department says it still has other pieces of evidence that will make for a strong murder case.
Definitely looking for these remains is damning evidence, no? Dahil dati po ang kinasuhan natin sa mga perpetrators ay kidnapping, kung maalala nyo po, no? But this will definitely shift the attention now to a murder case if ever bodies are found and remains are found. So we do hope to see remains that will match the DNA of those missing cockfight enthusiasts. However, even if we do not find the bodies, what we have to prove is the fact of death.
Over at the CIDG camp in Camp Crame, relatives of missing cockfight enthusiasts reiterate their demand for justice. One victim's mother said she wants to refile complaints they were urged to withdraw earlier. The case had been settled but she insists it was done in bad faith.
Kasi may balita po noon na ganun nga po nagkabayaran. Siya daw pang nakatanggap po, yung asawa niya dati. Masakit sa isang magulang na ganun ang nangyari sa anak ko po. Kaya hanggang hindi po siya maalis sa puso ko, sa isip ko, araw-gabi po. Parang malaking dagog sa aming pamilya po, lalo na sa isang ina.
She also pleaded with policemen tagged by Patidongan in the case to cooperate with the investigation. This is also the plea of other relatives of the missing sabongeros.
Sabi po ng whistleblower, tinurn over daw po sa pulis. Kung sino ka man po, yung anak ko, kung isa siya sa pinatay nyo, kaya buhay pa. Pakiusap naman po, ibalik na lang kung siya buhay pa. Pero maski na masakit man tanggapin, kung isa siya sa mga pinatay nyo, wala na po ako magagawa.
Hindi magandang nakaladkad yung mga pulis o kung sino mga government agencies dito na nagpagamit at para lang maisukatuparan yung mga gusto nila.
Mobile Journal Arles de los Santos. We are One News.
The Philippine Navy has been tapped to provide technology and manpower to help locate the remains of the disappeared Sabongeros. Let's get more details on the Navy's plans for this. And we have on the show Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad. Good evening to you, Rear Admiral. Welcome to the big story.
Yes, good evening, Ces, Pauline, and Shawn. Ladies, good evening.
Are you ready for tomorrow's search?
Yes, the Philippine Navy has always been ready to assist other government agencies, especially when it comes to deep diving or subsurface requirements. And our deep diving teams, our technical diving teams, are on standby if and when needed.
This will begin tomorrow, if we understand it correctly. Is that right, Admiral?
As of now, ladies, the teams are ready. We have 3 teams on standby already at the headquarters of the Special Operations Command. When the request is received and the orders are given, the directives are given, they will proceed to Taal.
Explain to us the complexity of the mission.
It's quite complex because, number one, this is considered as high-altitude diving. So the parameters for planning your dive will differ from diving at sea level. Secondly, you are looking for cadavers or the remains of it. Usually, the water is quite murky because of all the lahar, the ash from the volcano. What we usually do here is we first send drones, tethered drones underwater, to be able to scan the bottom of the lake. And if we see anything, there are mechanisms that we could attach to be able to retrieve some pieces of equipment or cargo or cadavers underwater. And this is always the first option. Rather than send a diver, if we could retrieve them using the equipment that we have, airbags and all the attachments, and we will do it that way.
Have drones been sent out today, or what was done today?
Today, the teams have been organized since last week when we got word that they may be requested, they may be asked to help. So we have 8 different teams all over the country. 3 have been on standby at our headquarters, and upon signal, they will proceed. The drones mentioned, we usually send this, especially when the water is murky. So it's always the last option to send a diver, especially if the environment is dangerous or risky for them.
So were the drones sent out today?
Not yet. We're still waiting for the directive.
I see.
For assistance.
Rear Admiral, today, Justice ASEC, Miko Clavano, was very clear na it's an assessment day to get the lay of the land. There's some sort of mapping going on. In terms of that, because we've heard how deep the lake is, have you isolated the search area? And in that specific area where you suspect and where you will start your search, gaano po kalalim exactly? Do we at least have the number for that?
Yes, our technical diving teams could go up to 100 meters, so with our tethered drones up to 120 meters. Now, depending on the area given, the average depth of Taal would be, I think, 105 to 110 meters. So it's within range of our capability, our equipment. We still have to go to know the exact path, and the moment we will, it's not an easy job. I mean, it's murky, it's dark, underwater current, the surface conditions will make it challenging. But we have done this before. We have retrieved bodies, yung ating mga tropa kasama ito pag-retrieve kay Secretary Robredo back then nung nag-crash sa may Bicol region. Also sa mga lumubog na mga barko natin in Cebu and somewhere in Mindoro. Plus yung mga divers na nawawala sa may Batangas area. There are a lot of leisure divers na na-retrieve ng ating mga technical diving teams.
Sir, what exactly are you still hoping to find? Because it has been 4 years since the Sabongeros went missing.
Yes, actually, ladies, this will depend on what the DOJ representatives will tell us what to look for. It's challenging because, again, the body will decompose, and usually the body after 24 hours lulutang na yan because of all the gases inside. But after 4 years, probably only the skeletons would remain. So we'll see, depending on what will be the briefing given by the DOJ representatives.
Napaka-choppy rin po dyan, no, sa Taal Lake, Rear Admiral. Do you also have parang tide mapping? Baka sakaling natangay sila to a different part of the lake?
Yes, it's quite challenging, like what I mentioned, not only the surface conditions, but also the altitude. It's already considered high-altitude diving, so the parameters for computing your dive, for planning your dive, will differ.
So this means parang less weight, unlike in deep-sea diving. Tama po ba?
When we compute for every 1,000 feet in elevation, we add 1 atmosphere. It's good as additional 32 meters of depth in our computation for the dive. It's quite technical, but our divers know how to compute their dive plan.
Okay. How is the visibility? Give us an idea of how murky it is. If a diver were to go down, how far can he see?
Depending on the depth of the water, it would range from 2 to 10 meters.
Okay. And if we're talking about equipment, no, of course, narinig na natin si DOJ Secretary, sumulat na raw sa Japan, Rear Admiral. But while we're waiting for those remotely operated vehicles to be sent here, ano po yung mga equipment na meron tayo? Nabanggit nyo may drone, pero do we have something like underwater lights, strobe lights, or spotlights?
Yes, these drones are equipped with cameras, with lights. They are tested. The power source is on top at the surface. They're controlled from the surface. We would need a support boats on the surface. Of course, communications and all the ancillary or support equipment. And then we will have to battle the conditions on the surface. That's why I mentioned earlier that the last option is to send the technical diver down. If we could do this using our equipment, then we will use our equipment. It's not easy. Again, 100 meters is quite deep already.
Having said that, kasi sinasabi tomorrow na raw magsisimula, kaya po ba? It sounds like a lot of preparation, a lot of computation from the divers, and even with the equipment.
Yes, the challenge actually here, ladies, is to bring the equipment there. But upon signal, the team could just proceed. The computation, they already have the dive computers. They know what to input. So they have been trained in this already.
Rear Admiral, what is the timeline for this mission? How long are you giving yourselves? And will you be working mostly in the morning? Gaano katagal po yung mga dive?
The timeline will depend on the requesting party. We are here to support them. So long as kailangan nila, then we will provide the support. How long, the duration, we could not say. Again, depending on the surface conditions, depending on the bottom conditions. If needed, we could pull out the other technical diving teams of the Philippine Navy all over the country. It will be on extended duration.
We're talking of how many, Rear Admiral?
A technical diving team is composed of 4 persons, 2 divers, 1 standby diver on the surface, and 1 dive supervisor. Initially, there are 3 technical diving teams on standby.
Okay.
We have more all over the country.
And they are currently at the headquarters or already close to the site, Taal Lake?
Yes, they're at the headquarters in Cavite City, Sangley Point. They have already been assembled. The equipment are there. And just a signal, the signal and the orders, and they will proceed.
Okay, and you mentioned na the technical divers have had experience trying to retrieve yung mga nalunod sa mga capsized boats, etc. In your experience with those previous search and rescue or search and retrieval operations, Rear Admiral, kalat-kalat na po ba yung mga buto nung nahanap? Because I imagine hindi na siya buo, di ba? Unlike pagka under lupa lang.
My personal experience is retrieving cadavers, so buo pa ito. We have had our men retrieving passengers of the ship that sank in Cebu, I think 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Buo pa, pero yung iba doon, medyo pira-piraso na lang. And marine life, usually, eat them, or crustaceans, mga alimango. So it's not a good sight, but it's our job to retrieve all of the bodies.
So you think may chance na buo pa kasi medyo nabanggit na nga rin, 4 years na, and medyo choppy talaga po yung Taal Lake?
Yes, generally, this will just be the skeleton that remains. But again, there have been, maybe the medical legal people could give us more info on this, that there have been some instances na after how many years, buo pa yung katawan. So we never know, but we expect na this will just be the skeleton, the remains underwater.
We understand that because of the depth, oxidation may be absent, and hence bodies can still be intact. Is that correct, Rear Admiral?
Yes, that's correct again, ladies, but I will have to defer to the experts on that because their experience, underwater marine life, would usually feed on cadavers.
Well, Rear Admiral, there's also been unrest in Taal volcano. Will that affect the mission in any way?
Yes, of course, that will be one of the factors to consider. And the number one objective there is always the safety of all the people involved, the divers and the surface tenders.
Okay, and again, just to compare the experiences of your technical divers before, kasi usually yung mga nabanggit ninyo ng mga operation sa tubig alat po yan or out at sea, but Taal is a freshwater lake already. So what do you expect would be the differences that you are preparing for?
Yes, the saltwater and freshwater, the difference is minimal when you do your dive plan. The greater challenge is the high altitude.
Okay.
All right. Well, we do thank you for your time, Rear Admiral Roy Trinidad of the Philippine Navy, and we wish the best for the 4 teams that you have assembled.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up, PAGCOR is setting up a hotline to help online gamblers deal with their addiction. We hear more interventions from PAGCOR's agency's chief, Al Tenco, when the big story returns. Keep it here.
The big story is back with the chief economist's proposal to properly tax online gambling. According to NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan, it's the least that can be done to temper gambling's social effects. He cited taxes on alcohol and cigarettes. He said that just as online gambling platforms evolve, tax enforcement infrastructure should also improve. Balisacan also suggested exploring these platforms' linkage to electronic wallets to help determine how much taxes should be imposed on them. Meantime, the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, plans to launch a 24/7 counseling hotline. This is to assist individuals struggling with online gaming addiction. PAGCOR Chairman Alejandro Tenco said they are currently in discussions with a partner foundation to set up the hotline that will be manned by trained counselors. And let's talk about the many issues about online gambling with Alejandro Tenco, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of PAGCOR. Good evening to you, Al. Welcome to the big story.
Hi, good evening to you, the 3 ladies, Shawn and Pauline. I'm actually on phone pad, so I don't know if you are all there.
We can barely hear you clearly,
Hello?
but we do hope.
Hello?
Hello. You can hear us?
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes. Better, Chairman.
All right. Well,
Okay, thank you.
the move to tax or better tax online gambling was cited by the NEDA, as it was called before. But aren't you already heavily taxing online gambling? How much has the government proceeds been so far in the first quarter of this year?
Okay, basically, for the online gaming licensees, we have a tax of a rate of 30%, or I call it a license fee of 30% based on their gross gaming revenue. In the year 2024, PAGCOR generated from online gaming alone more or less about 50 billion pesos. 48 something, high 40, so more or less 50 billion.
In taxes.
and in license fees from online
License
gaming,
fees. You
of
won't
which
term them taxes.
well, not really, because in with PAGCOR, the manual states license fee.
Okay.
Just like the license fees that we charge the integrated resort casinos.
So the tax that they pay, Chairman, just to be clear, no, sa BIR namin dapat itanong yun.
Opo. Kasi po, they also, they are corporations, and clearly as a corporation, they have to pay for income taxes.
Okay.
So 50 billion out of
In 2024.
and first quarter of the year.
Actually, for the, can I do na the first 6 months?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, as of June 30, and I think you're the first to hear this. Timing yung question ninyo, ladies. We were able to generate close to 30 billion pesos.
3-0, Chairman?
28, yeah. Well, actually, sabihin na natin high 20s already at this point.
So,
Well, I
based
saw
on...
an estimate of the first quarter that was 28.07 first quarter of 2025. I mean, not an estimate, but the total revenue. So that's
Yes,
not
so,
so big, considering if you
28 was
did
the
28
first quarter. So 28 in the first quarter, then in the second quarter, it must have been about 30 billion, more or less.
So, long story short, Chairman, are you seeing that the license fee revenue of PAGCOR from online gaming activities, no, so maa-outpace yung 2024 figure of almost 50 billion?
Opo, if the trend will continue, definitely we will see a growth in the revenues being generated by the online gaming sector, the license fees that they're paying.
What's your year-end estimate po?
I see a 20% growth. So
Sorry.
if we were close to
Say
50,
that again.
I see a 20% growth,
20%.
barring any big change, for example, on structure. So that means I see about high 50s end of the year or for the entire 2025.
All right. Al, if I may just call you Al.
Yes. Yes, pwede po.
You know, the revenue from online gambling has outpaced the casino revenue. Is that correct?
As of the month of June, it has already outpaced.
So while you are earning for the government's coffers so much money, the social cost has also been, quite costly. And having a helpline may be a drop in the bucket compared to the damage that's being done to the youth, to families, to society in general. Anong masasabi po ninyo dito?
Well, I totally agree with your comment. But just like in any jurisdiction around the world, really strict regulations will help mitigate the social cost, yung damage. That is my belief, and that is the belief of the PAGCOR board and all officers. That it can be mitigated. And what I'm saying, especially for online gaming, a total ban will be very difficult, primarily because the gaming activity is based and is using the internet. And the sad part is most of the illegal gaming operators now are based abroad. And they target our Filipino customers. What am I trying to say here? It's not that I do not agree. I totally agree with your comment. But truly, for me, if you can regulate, then we mitigate all of this. And then the revenue that we're generating, the people that we're helping, ay magkakaroon ng better effect kesa doon sa mas madaming hindi na-regulate. In fact, if I may just add, this issue of those below 21 or minors playing, that is not allowed in any PAGCOR licensed online gaming company. Ngayon, nangyayari po siguro paminsan-minsan may fake na ID, may ginamit yung driver niya or whatever, may ginamit siyang empleyado nila. Well, but that is very minimal in number. Ang talaga po, our real problem, yung online gaming coming from abroad, the illegal, wala po silang regulation, so any minor can play. That's the biggest problem we will encounter. So for me and the entire PAGCOR board, we were really backing for strong regulation when we saw that the growth is just exponential.
Maybe
So,
more
yes,
than aside from regulation, it's also the enforcement of the law. It's how to run after all these illegal operators when there is a law. They have violated many laws, pero ba't hindi po sila nahahabol? While you're the regulator, are you cooperating? How is the cooperation with enforcement agencies?
That is what I would want. Thank you for that question. I just want to say that we are lucky that the following government departments and agencies have been helping PAGCOR. Number 1 po, DICT. Number 2, NTC, National Telecommunications Commission. Number 3, NBI. Number 4, the PNPs with Cybercrime Unit. And PAGCOR. And then nandiyan po yung kasama na din ng immigration. So talaga pong whole of government approach ang ginagawa. We had reported in the last 2.5 years close to or more or less 11,000 illegal websites.
And one question for me.
Can I just say, ma'am, na ang block po natin, 78% po na block po natin. So meaning, with the help of these agencies, we are truly able to block all these illegals. Unfortunately, ang hirap, it's just like a cat and mouse situation. You close them today, in 48 hours, they come back again with another name. Magdadagdag lang ng number, magdadagdag ng isang letter. Ganun po eh.
Chairman, very quickly, ano po yung stance ng Malacanang dito? Ano pong utos sa inyo ng Presidente about online gaming?
Ang maliwanag po na ipag-ubilin ng Pangulong Marcos ay pag-aralang mabuti. Ano ba ang mga maaaring gawin pa para ma-mitigate itong mga sinasabing ang social cost. At pagkatapos, siya po ang talaga rin pinal na magdidesisyon yan matapos makita ang mga dokumentasyon.
Chairman, we had Senator Mig Zubiri the other night and he did say respectfully na lumang tugtugin na daw po ang regulation. What makes this current approach different this time around? Because you are pushing for regulation instead of a total ban.
Yes. Ma'am, I read that he mentioned lumang tugtugin. I just want to number 1, doon po sa issue ng isabong, hindi po ako involved dahil nung ako po ay na-appoint, wala na pong isabong. Kung may mga pagkukulang po yung nakarang administrasyon, hindi ko po nasasakop yun. Gusto ko ipaabot kay Senator Zubiri. Tapos sinabi po niya yung POGOs ay hindi na-regulate ng tama. Gusto ko pong ipalala kay Senator Zubiri, Inabutan ko po yun 298 POGO licenses. Ako po ang nagsara nung mga yung mga ang ginagawa na po hindi na gaming kundi panluloko. Investment scam, lab scam, at kung ano pa.
Al,
Opo.
I'm sorry, I have to thank you for your time because we have some breaking news to report. And we do hope you can come here on the show so we can have a lengthier discussion. It's very hard to talk to you over the phone.
Yung breaking news mo. Yes, thank you.
Marami pong salamat, PAGCOR Chairman
magandang
and CEO Altenco. And breaking news this hour, skeletal remains were found near Taal Lake. We have News 5 correspondent Brian Castillo on the line. Magandang gabi sa iyo, Brian. Saan eksaktong nakita ang mga buto, Brian?
Yes, nakakita nga ng skeletal remains sa gilid na bahagi ng Taal Lake na sakop ng bayan ng Laurel sa Batangas kaninang hapon. Ito ang kinumpirma ng Region 4A o Calabarzon Police Regional Office matapos matanggap ang ulat mula sa Provincial Director ng Batangas Police. Natagpuan ang mga buto sa lugar kung saan sinabi umano ni Julie Patidongan alias Totoy na dinala ang mga pinatay na missing sabongero bago sila itapon sa Taal Lake. Isa sa ilalim pa naman sa forensic examination at DNA testing ang mga nahukay na buto para makumpirma kung ito ay galing sa tao o kaya naman ay sa hayop. Kasama ng PNP na nakarecover sa mga buto ay ang mga tauhan ng Department of Justice at ng Philippine Coast Guard. Patuloy natin ang tabayanan ng iba pang detalye patungkol dito. Yes?
Brian, ito ba ay nangyari nitong yung parang dumating ang mga Coast Guard para tignan ang lawa at bago mag-dive ang mga divers mula sa Navy? Ngayon lang ito nangyari?
Yes, kaninang hapon nga ito nangyari kasi nga, iba hindi natuloy itong dapat sanang pag-dive o pag-visit doon sa lawa. Pero sa gilid kasi nung Taal Lake ay sinisiyasat niya ng mga pulis dahil nga sinasabi na hindi lang naman sa Taal Lake itinapon o ibinaon itong mga labi ng missing sabongero.
Mm-hmm. Ipaliwanag mo pa kung ano ang kondisyon nung paano nila eksaktong nakita? Ito'y lumulutang ba? Meron bang eksplanasyon ang pulisya kung paano natuntun itong sako na ito?
Yes, natuntun itong sako na ito dahil ito yung mismong lugar daw na itinuro nitong si alias Totoy na isa sa mga pinupuntahan nila o pinupuntahan ng mga sangkot dito bago yan itapon doon sa Taal Lake. At ito nga, nakuha siya sa isang sa gilid doon ng lawa, may buhangin doon nahukay at yung mga buto parang sunog eh. Kung titignan yung mga larawan na binigay sa atin ng PNP, sunog yung mga butong ito.
Brian, ito ba'y malapit dun sa sinasabing palaisdaan nung isang pulis na bahagi nung parang sinasabi ni alias Toto, no? Totoy rather, na bahagi nung execution team na ginagamit nung mastermind nitong Isabong?
Kasi sa ngayon, hindi pa natin makumpirma kung gaano kalapit itong lugar na ito kung saan nakuha yung skeletal remains. Pero ang sinasabi sa atin nga, isa ito doon sa mga pinupuntahan talaga ng mga sangkot, yung sasabi mo nga, execution team, isa ito sa mga lugar na pinupuntahan nila bago doon itapon sa Taal Lake.
Panghuli na lamang, Brian, ano ang susunod na gagawin? Ito ba'y dadalhin sa CIDG? Anong proseso?
Yes, base doon sa pinakabagong statement ng Department of Justice, ay sasailalim pa ito sa proper forensic examination it's either dalhin sa CIDG o sa NBI para makakonfirma muna kung ito ba ay human remains kasi isa sa mga nakikitang anggulo, posible naman na baka nilibing lang ito na alagang hayop doon sa lugar. At magsasagawa rin ng DNA testing para makita kung tutugma ba ito sa kung sino man sa mga miyembro ng mga nawawalang, kung sino man family members ng mga nawawalang missing sabongero.
Maraming salamat sa iyo, Brian Castillo of News 5.
Moving on to other news, just a day after being appointed spokesperson of the Office of the Vice President, former DTI Undersecretary Ruth Castelo is already being pitted against Palace spokesperson Yusek Claire Castro. In her first press con, Castelo declared that she was hired by the OVP to drum up its accomplishments and not to be an attack dog for the vice president. But in an interview on Ted Filon's program this morning, Castelo defended Vice President Duterte from Palace spokesperson Claire Castro, who questioned her personal trips.
Hindi ko po makita na bakasyon yung ginagawa ni Vice President Duterte, and hindi po dahil nandun siya sa dahig ay natutulog yung opisina. Hindi po dahil nandun siya ay ang operations po hindi naman tumitigil pag umalis ang boss, hindi ba? Hindi naman po yung when the cat is away, the mouse will play in the office of the Vice President na kayang gumawa ng trabaho kahit wala si Vice President.
Opo.
And the Chief of Staff, of course, is there supervising everything. Pag lang po may mga important decisions, it has to be cleared with the Vice President.
Okay.
In her own press briefing, Yusek Castro was asked about going head-to-head with Castelo, and this was her reply.
Hindi siya attack dog. Definitely, VP Sara doesn't need anymore an attack dog. Hindi niya na po kailangan ng isang attack dog. So, you know what I mean.
And the Binay sisters are once again having a very public feud. This time, it's over plans to back out of the Makati subway settlement deal. Former Makati Mayor Abby Binay accused her sister Nancy's administration of making unfounded claims regarding the settlement agreement with the developer of the Makati subway project, which was established during her tenure. Last Tuesday, Makati Mayor Nancy Binay bared plans to back out of the deal with Philippine Infradev Holdings and potentially rescind the settlement agreement. Mayor Binay claims the 8.9 billion peso settlement for the derailed subway project will expose the city to a financial crisis. She also tagged the agreement as a midnight deal, having been signed just a couple of days before the end of Mayor Abby Binay's term. The younger Binay dismissed these claims, saying the settlement is the best option for the city. She also believes the settlement issue is being raised to undermine her legacy in Makati.
Kung tutuusin, pwede naman na i-withdraw nila yung settlement agreement na hindi na kailangang ilabas because technically confidential nga yung negotiations, na hindi nila kailangan malira ng kahit sino at nagawa nila yung gusto nila. Bakit nga? Bakit pa kailangan niyang ilabas? I can only think of one thing. It is really to undermine my legacy. Yung 9 years na tinrabaho ko bilang mayor na maayos yung pagpapatakbo sa Makati, yun lang yung naiisip ko.
Incumbent Makati Mayor Nancy Binay has yet to comment on her sister's remarks. On that note, we'll be pausing for another quick break, but when we return, we talk about giving new purpose to secondhand and vintage items. Sustainability is next on The Big Story. Keep it here.
Welcome back to The Big Story. Each year, the Philippines generates millions of tons of solid waste, and much of it ends up in landfills or worse, in our waterways. But while many still struggle to reduce their footprint, one online shop based in Malabon is taking a different approach: Upcycling. Founded in 2020, Upcycle Deco breathes new life into second-hand home pieces, sourced, curated, and sometimes refurbished to fit modern spaces. But it's not just about aesthetics. Here we feature companies that put a spotlight on circular initiatives, one story at a time. Welcome to Sustainability. Some see junk, others see potential. One of them is Upcycle Deco. From gossip benches to vintage mirrors and rattan wall dividers, it has become a go-to for those who see value in pre-loved finds, proving that old doesn't mean obsolete. And joining us today is Upcycle Deco's owner, Renelyn Ocampo. Welcome to The Big Story, Ren.
Hello, ma'am. Thank you for having us here. Thank you.
Tell us how this began. I understand pandemic project ito.
Yes po. Actually, it all started because of parenthood. And it was all because of parenthood that we got involved in the upcycling business kasi at that time we were expecting our first child. So in preparation for the baby, we started decluttering our home. And that's when we realized how much waste we were actually generating. Sobrang daming gamit. And that experience for us was a wake-up call to reevaluate our lifestyle and our habits. And kaya kami napunta sa thrift shopping. And because of thrift shopping, that's when we discovered all the furniture pieces out there lying around, getting overlooked. Yun. And that's where the idea to upcycle took off.
You and your husband used to be employed in a company, and now you have become full-time entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I love it.
There's money. There's money in.
So it's
I wouldn't even call it basura, no? There's money in.
May pera sa basura.
Overlooked items.
Discarded items. So what was the challenge, though, in the beginning?
In the beginning, the challenge was to kasi when you look for items, you have to have a keen eye for items. Parang hidden gem, you're looking for a hidden treasure, ganon. And at first, we don't know how to exactly upcycle. So, kailangan namin pag-aralan and...
Self-taught kayo?
Self-taught.
Saan kayo nag-aral? YouTube?
Yes.
University.
Yes.
Ang galing! Imagine. How did you... Meron ba mga finds na hindi nyo akalain mahal pala? Or vintage pala? It's like valuable?
Yes. Some items usually akala mo parang junk na lang siya. And then when you try to research on it, parang wow. Ano pala siya?
Branded pala.
Po. Tapos kapag you try to sell it, minsan pag-aagawan siya ng mga customers and parang magtataka, bakit kaya? And then, yung pala yun.
Nakamura pang presyo?
Yung pala yun, ganun pala
Hindi
siya.
naman.
Makakamura po,
Redeline, what's the difference between recycling and upcycling? Because those are two terms that sometimes get interchanged, right?
Upcycling, it's more of
bringing life.
Bringing life into some, bringing new life to old pieces.
Yes.
For recycling naman, it's parang basically the same, pero it's like full overhaul, like
you transform them
transform talaga.
into new things.
Yes.
Okay.
Upcycling, it's just like enhancing, enhancing, improving the aesthetics. Ganon.
I like what you said about you wanted to change your lifestyle because here it's really personal. And we all struggle with that, right?
Hoarding.
Yes.
How to live more
hard.
simply, more
True.
sustainably. So give us tips on how you as a
young
I'm not necessarily a young parent. I'm a young lola.
You're a young grandparent,
Bigyan mo naman kami ng tips. Anong ginawa nyo?
So, when we started to embrace the minimalism journey, whenever we need something, we make sure to ask muna yung friends or family if they have this. Kung wala, we look for thrift shops talaga. And talagang kung walang-wala, that's the only time we buy brand new. And we also are being intentional of what we have and what we bring into our lives, kung talagang kailangan ba siya talaga. Yung maghihintay ka na, kung may kailangan kang bilhin, maghihintay ka ng siguro mga ilang days, tapos marirealize mo, ay, hindi pala kailangan. Hindi pala kailangan.
Lalo na yung mga baby stuff. No?
Actually,
Parang,
yes, a lot of
as a young parent and a young lola, alam nyo yan, ang daming disposable things, ang daming bagay na 2 months ang gagamitin. So what do you do with, I see your baby is now a little bit big na. Nag-aaral na. May susundan na. Yun na eh. Tapos may kasunod, di ba? So napamigay mo na ba yung gamit ni Basta?
Oo, ano ginagawa?
Actually, for him, for our first child, we didn't buy anything except for a car seat.
Car seat. Okay.
For a car seat and lampin for cloth diapering. And kasi everything else was generously given to us by friends and by family. So, parang halos wala ka ng ginasto sa mga... And it's a big, it was a game changer for us. Talaga.
Nahirapan ba kayo? How do your friends live, for instance, yung mga circle of friends ninyo? Kasi now it's so easy, mag-press ka lang sa phone mo, add to cart. Diba?
Siguro, it was more of, we're not into like guilt tripping naman, like guilt tripping someone into sustainability. Kung talagang hindi nila type, talagang if it's not for them, then that's okay, that's totally okay. And ang sa amin lang, we just hope to inspire them too, like madami kang natitipid with being minimalist, ganon.
Mas masaya ba kayo?
Yes, you get to focus more on what's really important. Which is yung like for our son, he's not really into like yung madaming gamit. He's happy with kunwari Lego, and he spends his time all day like building Legos, ganon.
So you become more creative.
More creative.
I'd like to talk about some of the pieces you made. If we can show some of them on the screen and you can comment. Like, may nakita akong cabinet or drawers, a set of drawers. Ay, yung mga yan.
Yes. Who does the refurbishing?
We do.
Kayo mismo?
Kayo mismo?
Yes, and sometimes we have, kapag marami, may mga tao kami na gagawa.
Yan, kayo yan?
And you do this from the comfort of your own homes, right?
In our home,
Yun na yung workshop nyo, yung
Yes.
Cute naman yan. Wait, gitara ba talaga yan?
Gitara yan talaga.
Yes, it's a lampshade. Gitara po siya talaga.
So naisip, whose idea was it?
No, actually, that was lampshade na talaga siya.
So medyo ganyan na talaga siya.
Shape of a guitar. Kasi our niche is working with pieces that are already like in decent condition, tas i-enhance mo na lang by painting or varnishing.
So what did you change with this piece?
At
With that
first
guitar
kasi with
piece,
that guitar, broken yung loob. So wala siyang ilaw. So we tried some electrical.
So I guess yung owner, kesa ayusin,
yes.
Bumili ng bago.
Bumili na lang ng bago. So parang sayang kasi parang there's so look at it. Parang there's so much life in it.
Yeah. Nabili na yan.
Yes po, nabili na siya.
Okay. Yan. Okay. Tell us about this.
Yes. For this naman, it's an office swivel chair. Medyo kakaiba yung itsura. It's wooden. Yeah. It's also we bought it at. Ang sira nito, if I'm not mistaken, is yung the pneumatics, yung
up-down.
Yes, the up-down, and then we tried to repair it.
Because that's the tendency, no? I wouldn't know how to repair a chair and I would,
But with the help of ChatGPT and YouTube, di ba,
Pwede.
You would
Kailangan
do that,
lang may time.
I would do it. I would do it. Oo. And actually, to be honest, minsan mahilig din ako maghanap ng finds online, mga second-hand finds.
Because the beauty with vintage items also is the quality is really premium, di ba? Compared to now na yung mga mura lang sa
Parang mid-century modern yung chair na yun, no?
I think so.
So mahal mo na benta yan?
Very affordable naman po.
Actually, affordable ng mga prices nyo, I'm trying to fight my hoarder tendencies. I'm on their Facebook.
But those wicker items, medyo mahirap i-restore yun,
Kasi it takes a lot of time kasi minsan, since may mga small spaces doon, you really need to, kami pinu-pressure wash talaga namin siya and matagal siyang patuyuan kasi kailangan tuyo siya. So, to get rid of the molds, parang mga ganon. So, you have to varnish and all and maghahanap ka ng local supplier of yung mga solihiya, yung mga...
So, yun na, you already have a set of suppliers where you can buy.
Yes.
And where do you go to hunt? To hunt for things to bring life to?
Anywhere po, as in everywhere, kahit saan, like
Hindi dun sa bangkal?
Not necessarily po sa bangkal, but just about anywhere. Kunwari, we're on a vacation, tas may nadaanan, tas, may potential to, we'll snag it. Kukunin namin yun.
So, lagi kayong tingin sa labas ng bintana ng kotse?
Ng kotse.
Diba minsan may surplus, ganyan?
Yes. Even, hindi lang dito, even if we go overseas, talagang naghahanap kami ng mga
It's fun?
Opo, parang it's enjoyable.
How do you develop the eye? Kasi kung ako yun, parang...
Overwhelming. Sometimes
malulula ako, I wouldn't know.
Siguro,
is it patient? What is it? What qualities?
Siguro it's more of sa amin kasi ng husband ko, I'm more of the creative side. So ako yung nakakahanap ng mga hidden gems. Siguro it was like na-develop lang over time.
And he has the hard time of cleaning and doing everything.
Naman, yes. Very hands-on. Very hands-on, ganun.
Okay. Well, we thank you so much. Just tell us how we can find you, how our audience can find you para to snag your creations.
So you can find us in Instagram, Upcycle Deco. We also have a dedicated page pala for kids. It's Upcycle Deco Kids naman. We share there yung mga eco-friendly products for kids. Yeah.
So eco-friendly pa.
Wow.
Yes, kasi mga it's all mga second-hand furniture and mga
toys.
Toys, yes.
Oh, thank you, Ren.
Yes.
And hope you have a safe delivery for your next little one.
Thank you
for
much.
joining us.
Thank
that
you
was
so
Renelyn
much.
Ocampo of Upcycle Deco.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God.
8:30 na.
All right, on the dot. That's it for the big story this Thursday. Thank you so much for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
We'll be back here tomorrow at 7:30 as usual. Have a good night, everyone.